who do you feel like will be the face of the NBA post that era when we're talking the guys like LeBron, KD, Steph?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, we talked about this on our podcast with Tim Legler and Richard Jefferson, two other ESPN people, at the beginning of the season. And this time is approaching where Steph and LeBron, they're not going to be here forever. They're not going to be playing at this level forever. It is interesting because I read all the players' comments over the weekend because they were all asked about it. And they all talked about it has to be organic. Like, we can't choose who the next face of the league is. It has to be organic. And a lot of times, I would say most of the time, it comes with winning. It comes with winning a championship. Kobe became the face of the league because he won. MJ became the face of the league because he won. Magic, Larry, they won. That's why they were the face of the league. The other point about this that I think is important, because Stephen A. has touched on this many times in the past, you have to want to be the face of the league. I had some issues with your comments last year, Stephen A., about Kawhi being the worst superstar ever. Kawhi doesn't want to be the face of the league. He's a two-time finals MVP. Jokic doesn't want to be famous. Jokic doesn't want to be the face of the league. So when you start looking at, well, which guys could be the face of the league? In terms of American players, I think it's Tyrese Halliburton. I think it's Jason Tatum. I certainly think it's Anthony Edwards. It could be someone else. But there has to be, I think, the embrace of being a face of the league. There has to be the personality, the dynamic nature of the player and the person to become the face of the league. None of us thought Steph Curry in 2008, 2009 was going to eventually become the face of the league. But he is. We can't predict these things. My question actually for both of you guys, because we've had 5 straight MVPs that are all internationally born.
Right.
And if you look at the MVP race this year, it's the same situation, right? It's Luka, it's Shea, it's Embiid, or Embiid before he got hurt, it's Giannis, it's Jokic again, right? Is it bad for the league that the best players are internationally born?
I would say to you, no. It's not bad for the league if the best players are internationally born. It is bad for the league if the American players give you the impression that they don't want it, that they're indifferent to embracing the responsibility of being the face of the league. That's what's bad, okay? Now, if you're just not good enough, you're not good enough. In other words, compared to Jokic, compared to Giannis, compared to Luka. If they're just better and that's why that one of them become the face, then no problem whatsoever. But if they're the face because not only do they perform, but they have that appeal, that allure, and they care about being the marquee, and you can see that they're more apt to embrace it than the players themselves that are American born, then we've got a problem, because what the hell has happened to us as a sport, particularly since this is an American-born sport? Obviously, you have a vast majority of the players, particularly of African-American descent, and nobody wants it. That would be problematic for me personally. And Shannon, just to make sure we illuminate what we were talking about, when I went after Kawhi Leonard last year and JJ had an issue with that, I called Kawhi Leonard the worst superstar you could possibly have, not because of his skill set. I know how great he is, but because he does nothing to market the sport per se. And JJ wanted me, he pressed me about that because initially we were talking about his injury and all of this other stuff. And I was like, no, I'm not questioning.
We've worked through it, Shannon.
We worked through it. We worked through it. Ebony and Ivory, Ebony and Ivory, baby. Ebony and Ivory. That's what it is.
Okay.
But in the end, to answer this question, who'll be, the identity of the NBA in the post-LeBron era? I like Ant-Man. I was disappointed with him, JJ, this weekend only in this sense. You go out there, you're shooting the ball left-handed, you're playing around and stuff like that. I know you were playing around. Then you got these quotes about how it's supposed to be an off time, an off weekend. No. The reality is that when you talk about marketing the sport and being a face and being a headliner and being a marquee, those things come with it where you seize a moment. You're surrounded by the best in the world, the best players in the world. And you want to do everything you can to show that you are the person on the come up. Like Michael Jordan with Magic and Bird when he said, fellas, there's a new sheriff in town. He wanted to send a message. And that's what America and that's what the basketball world wants to see from that face of the NBA. They want to see somebody that's coming along and saying, I want it. this is what I want, this is what I'm going for, and I want it bad. That's what you want to see. And I think that Ant-Man has the ability to do that, even though he let me down this weekend.
I think both of you guys make very, very good points, very interesting points. I think the thing is that when we saw Magic and Bird, we saw the next guy was going to be Michael Jordan. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We knew who it was going to be. And when Jordan started to leave, we saw it was going to be Kobe Bryant. And then we saw LeBron James. But what we also saw, we saw a guy that had winning championships, MVPs, but we also saw a guy that was going to be here for the next 10 years. And I think the thing is, you're absolutely right. Steph and KD not going to be around for another 10 years. So those guys are going to start to exit stage left. LeBron probably the next 2 years, Steph the next 4 or 5 years, KD same thing as that. But the question that I have for you guys, who has won enough, who has MVPs, who has championships that we can say, okay, he's ready to ascend to that throne? And like you said, guys, what American player has that? Is there an American player outside of Kevin Durant, outside of LeBron and Steph? Now, we know James Harden, but he's going to be leaving, so he's not going to be it. We know Russ, but who's the other American-born players that have won championships, that have MVPs, that we can put in that spot?
Nobody.
It's literally just Kawhi.
It's just Kawhi.
It's literally just Kawhi.
Just Kawhi.
Yeah.
But as you said, Kawhi doesn't want that responsibility. But Stephen A., I think you can answer this better than JJ and I. What about relationship status? Magic and Bird was married. LeBron was in a relationship with Savannah. How do we look at that? Because when we look at presidential candidates, we look at candidates, we want them to be secure. We want them to be foundational pieces.
Are you taking the Celtics or the field right now to win the East?
The Celtics. I've said it from the very beginning of this season, and I stand by it right now. They're the best team in basketball. They've got a 4-game advantage over the Minnesota Timberwolves, a 6-game advantage in the East over the Cleveland Cavaliers. They ended the first half of the season or before the All-Star break by winning 6 straight. Right now, they're number 1 in offensive efficiency, number 3 in defensive efficiency. Net rating, they're first in that as well, outscoring opponents by 10.3 points per 100 possessions. I'm looking at them right now, and I'm saying, excuse me, I'm saying this about the Boston Celtics, and JJ, I'm not even happy with them, because I think they jack up too many damn threes. I think it's like 47.3%. They lead the league in three-point rate. That's how much they're jacking up three-point shots, for crying out loud. I think they need to cut that down just a touch. And still, I'm looking at their personnel. I'm looking at Porzingis. I'm looking at Orford coming off the bench. I'm looking at White and Holiday as defensive wizards in the backcourt. I'm looking at Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And I'm saying to myself, my goodness, they've got athleticism. They've got perimeter shooting. They defend. They can put up buckets. They've got a star and a superstar on their squad together. I'm looking at the Boston Celtics, and I'm saying, who can I definitively look at in the East and say, you know what, they can take them? You know I'm loving my Knicks right now. Orange and blue skies, baby. Orange and blue skies. But I am not. I don't need to get drug tested by saying that I think they're going to beat the Celtics. The Celtics are the favorites against everybody. And by the way, just as a reminder, that Game 7 in Miami, after they overcame an 0-3 deficit, won 3 games, and Game 7, and Jason Tatum got hurt in Boston. They got hurt in Game 7. It was in Boston, right? The bottom line is this. We all looked at it and we said, damn, we kind of wanted Boston simply because we thought Miami was undersized going up against Denver, and we knew what the outcome would be. Obviously, we would have felt a little bit differently had that been Boston going against Denver instead of Miami. This is what I'm looking at right now. Boston's knocking on the door. I think Boston's the best team in basketball. I'm going with the Celtics, not the field.
Before I go into my point, Stephen A., JJ, can Giannis stop pretending, oh, I've had 4 coaches in a year? Because you wanted them all gone. You wanted Jason Kidd gone. You wanted Bud gone. You wanted Adrian Griffin gone. So please stop this notion talking about different system. They want you to do different things, different game plans.
He didn't want Jason Kidd going.
Shannon, do you feel like he's kind of playing the victim right now?
He didn't. I'm telling you what, he didn't want Jason Kidd going.
Yes. For the simple fact is he's a super duper star, and they'll do anything they can to keep him. They haven't had a player like him since one Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and he ended up leaving, going to L.A. The last thing you want to do is to have your 2 best players, they be unhappy, and they leave. They exit stage. And so they're going to do everything. So he didn't want Bud gone. Let me ask you a question. Did he want Bud gone?
Yeah.
Stephen A.
I
That's
was
for
saying,
you. Did he want?
listen, I'm not good. JJ's better equipped to answer that question than me. I will tell you this. Mike Budenholzer was a hell of a coach. I think that he went through a lot personally over the last year, and it was a lot that was wearing on him, and he wasn't the same person. I don't think anybody looked at him and questioned his coaching ability. He wasn't the same person, but he definitely wanted Adrian Griffin, and then he didn't want him. That is true.
Okay. Look here. This is what we know about the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks would have given Giannis anything he wanted, even a part of Harley Davidson, and they don't even own any part of Harley Davidson. But they would have gave him that to keep him happy. Now to your point. Stephen A., you make great, compelling points. The Celtics has looked like the best team. And now with Joel Embiid being hurt, I don't really see a team that's been consistent enough. I did hear Shaq tell Damian Lillard, say, look, if this thing goes sideways, you, Doc, and Giannis is going to take the blame. You need to go back, grab somebody by the throat and say, this is what I need from you. And I think that is the only team right now that I look at that could cause them some problems. They do have 2 top 12 players. Giannis is one of the top 2 or 3 players in all the league, and we know what Dame can do. But right now, they're underperforming. Doc is underperforming coaching, 3-7 in the last 10 games. So, unfortunately, Stephen A., with Joel Embiid and being hurt, as much as I want to take the field, I don't believe Cleveland can beat Boston in a 7-game series. I definitely don't believe your Knicks because Thibodeau is going to be rearing those guys to the ground. They're going to be on fumes by the time the first round, let alone get to a second round or Eastern Conference.
By the way, before JJ, you jump in, that game's Celtics are at Knicks Saturday on ABC. JJ will be calling that game. Okay. That'll be a good one.
Okay. First game with Mike and Doris and Lisa. So excited about that.
And I'll be there, JJ.
All right. As a fan?
Yeah, as a fan.
I love it.
I don't need to be at that game. The crew isn't back yet. Randall, Robinson, Anunoby. When everybody get back, I'll be there.
Okay, because I'm there, so you're trying to act like it's not a big deal. The crew's not there.
It's not a big deal that you're there, Miss UConn. It's just not a big deal. You ain't no Knicks fan.